We can see each other's eyeballs. Hey, you.
Hello.
Thanks for watching. And so we're looking at each other. And so I disassociate this with LinkedIn or with social media networking. There's lots of ways to network, but I do consider that video and in person can be congruous if we just have the right mindset. I mean, Carol's brought up a lot of the benefits of being online, and there are so many benefits to it. There's also a lot of benefits from being able to see, hear, touch, and squeeze each other. So I acknowledge both of those, but that's really the topic that I like to cover. And so let me just accept the recording. Got it. Good. And now let me share my slides with you. I'm also going to give you two of my best pieces of advice on Zoom, which I love to share with people. And I'm also making you bigger in front of me. Tip number one, you can stop looking at yourself by hiding your view of you. I never look at myself on Zoom. I find it just, I keep looking at me to make sure I don't have anything in my teeth. But I ask you, please tell me if I have something in my teeth. Thank you. So you can hide your self view, and that's always a lovely thing. I think you'll find you pay more attention and look each other in the eye more. That's one. And two, when someone makes the screen big like this with the presentation, you can slide the bar in the middle of your screen side to side, and that enables you to make the people bigger and the presentation smaller. My presentation doesn't have a lot of words on it, so you aren't going to need to use big font. You'll be fine. So those are a couple of Zoom tips for you. So as Mia said, I am now presenting on strategic networking for you. And I just want to talk about the word strategic networking. I think a lot of people go out networking without a strategy. And I think they don't really pay much attention to what they're going to get, so they don't feel comfortable with what they got out of it. You'll go to a coffee event, you'll go to a chamber meeting, you might go to a meeting like this, and you don't necessarily realize the connection you made. And I think it's a little bit like Alice in Wonderland's Cheshire Cat scenario. Which path shall I take? Well, the Cheshire Cat says, where do you want to go? And she says, it doesn't really matter. And then he says, it doesn't really matter which path you take then, does it? You need to know your destination, and your destination is to grow your business and to enjoy your experience. I always believe that fun should be one of our core values as well. So what happened to me over the last year was that I decided that my business in my candle business had been very successful. I was a direct seller. I sold multi-level marketing candles called Party Light. That was the company. And that business had done really well, but I was already starting to get a bit antsy about change. And I had been exceptionally successful at networking in my BNI community as a member of BNI. I had also started teaching BNI principles and strategic networking principles to others. And I was even being paid for this, and I was quite excited about that. It's working quite well. So my entire being was focused around this candle business, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. Why? Because I decided that when the company changed from a network marketing platform to an affiliate program online, that wasn't for me. My life is around looking people in the eye, like I'm looking you guys in the eye right now, and being in person at parties and training my team and going on trips with the peers that I had. These were the things that made me happy. So the affiliate model wasn't going to continue to challenge me. I decided that it was time for me to spread and share my strategic networking principles, and that's what I want to share with you today. I immediately started working on writing a book to document my own principles, because you might have already heard me use the acronym BNI. BNI stands for Business Network International. Maureen's part of that group. There's lots of people who are part of BNIs. Antonia's part of it. It's a network of organizations that work well, and I was a member. Well, one of the things I decided to do was buy the business. You know, they didn't Gillette. The Gillette guy did that. He liked the product so much he bought the company. Well, I'm the Gillette guy of BNI, and I bought the BNI Sydney Northeast region. And I also started writing a book to document my own processes, not BNI's. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So the first thing you need to know is that, boom, there we go. I wrote a book. Now the book is called Stop Waste Your Time Networking. Stop wasting your time. And there's a workbook associated with it, because there'd be no sense in doing and reading the book without doing some work on yourself and your business. And there's fantastic information in there, and it's in two parts. I'm not trying to spruik the book. I'm trying to tell you that there's two components of the strategy I developed. One is to understand your business well enough to understand your marketing. Who is your target market? And what is your unique selling proposition? I just listened to Jules talk about, and Mia talk about, She's the Boss. And what is their target market? It's female founders. It's very quick. It's 2 words and you've got female founders, target market right there. And then what is the unique selling proposition? It gives us an opportunity to really network with people at our level, and to really work with people at our level. And it's phenomenal because everybody does something different, and it does it in their own quirky way, and we learn from each other. So it's a vehicle and a resource for us to feel like we are not alone in that female founder space. So it's wonderful. Anywho, so I wrote the book, and what I'm going to share with you is part 1 was all about that the marketing part, the understanding what you're after. And then part 2 is all about networking. And I use that word as a verb. It's not, it's going out and doing the practice. And it's as simple as walking the dog down the street and running into someone who also has the same dog and having a chat with them. You can turn that into a networking opportunity if you want to. And the strategies that I deploy help with that. All right. Now, is all of this sounding attractive so far? I see nods and smiles and things. So let's keep going. Excellent. All right. Well, the first thing I want to share with you is the golden rule of networking. Thou shalt not sell. When you're networking, you're connecting with people. Many people will go and attend a networking environment and immediately think, did I get any leads? Did I sell anything? How many people am I going to follow up with in order to pitch to? Networking is not selling. Networking is a marketing opportunity. And so when we compound the two, we make mistakes. And Ivan Meisner in B&I calls it premature solicitation. And I like the wording of that, but I really do think that it's important that see, Helen got it now. So when we go to a networking environment, we're there to connect with people, and success is in connection, not in sales. And connection is I'm going to give you guys the whole kimono. I'm going to share everything about this model with you. So what are the things that make networking strategic? Well, the first thing is that, as I said, the Cheshire Cat said, what's the destination you want? Well, in networking, we need to find the same thing. You need to set some goals for your networking. Now, I want to also say that part of this is finding out how good you are now. How good of a networker are you? Because if you're a great networker, then your network brings you business. Your network brings you business because they know you, they like you, they trust you, they understand you. They know what you do so well that they can recommend you. I like to use the word recommend rather than refer. They can recommend you with gusto, absolute strength. Now, so if you were to think about how good you are at this, I'd like to give you a little bit of a way to make it quantifiable. Does everybody want to get out a pen and a paper? Okay, pen and paper. I'm going to do it too, just for fun. All right, here we go. Pen and paper. I want you to make 4 quadrants on your page. And in the page, I want you to just write down, I want you to think in your brain, who are the 4 people who recommend my business to other people most often? The 4 people who recommend your business the most often. They could be clients, they could be suppliers, they could be your family, It could be in someone in your network group, could be all of those people. Who are those 4 people? So I'm going to write those down.
Wendy, are we putting each one in that?
Each one in each quadrant. Each one in each quadrant. Sorry, Helen. Sorry, I didn't say that, did I? Thanks, Tessa. All right. Now, this is not always easy to do. Some people think, oh, I don't know who recommends me all the time. So we're going to work on that. That'll be part of the outcome and the homework of what you want to think about. Now, the next thing I want you to think about, this is a little harder. When you think, how many referrals in the last year, or how many people did you get from each of those people? It's a number. So like if I've written down, you know, a friend who's referred 3 people to me, I'd write down the number 3. If there's someone who's recommended you 50 times, write down 50. So no matter what the number is, just you've got the name of the person in the box, and now you've got a number next to each person. So Carol does property, you know, she's Ms. Property. So what we want to do is find out who refers and recommends Carol all the time. And there are 4 people. They might be in the property sphere. Carol, how are you doing with this?
Strangely, none of them are actually in property.
Can you share with us who they are and the numbers that we're talking about so far?
Yeah, they're not. Well, this part of it depends which part of the business. If I talk about past referrals, then the 4 main people, how have I known them, and how many they've referred, they'd probably be, and there'd be others, but I would say that they would be at least 1 that I'm aware of, because sometimes if I don't ask and it only comes out later that, oh yeah, hey, Jody told me about you, or yeah, I was talking to Sue and she said, and you think, right, sometimes you've got to get that information. So yeah, I'd say that, and this is just in the last, what month are we in? God,
It's
October?
November. It's October. Yeah.
This is in the last, because I started this business in February, and so that would be just sort of somebody else. Yeah, all of my business is referral.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's about finding out where it's come from. But I'd say at least 1 for the 4 of them in the last 8 months.
Nice. Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. So do you see, it doesn't need to be big numbers. You might have very small numbers there, but the question is, do you have targeted referral partners? And so I want to share with you a number called Dunbar's number. You can argue Dunbar's number, but Dunbar's number is around 150. What is 150? Well, it's a quantifiable number through some research where Dr. Dunbar found it, that most people have loose relationships with around 150 people. That on average, if you took everybody, some people less, some people more, but 150. Now with social media, these loose connections have gotten even looser and it's a greater number, but we can still focus on Dunbar's number. So let's just pretend that the 20 of us have Dunbar's number of 150, all right? That also means that each of the 4 people in your quadrant have 150 connections that they're loosely associated with. So in other words, Carol has 4 names in there and has received 1 referral from those 4 only in the last 8 months since she launched. So we're not criticizing or judging, but that's 1 out of 600 possible connections, because those 4 people added together are 150, 150, 150, 150. Do you see where I got the math? Yeah. All right. So her percentage, her referral percentage, if it was 6 out of 600, that'd be 1%. So she's receiving fewer than 1% of the potential loose associations. This is not supposed to be a science. This is supposed to be a metric. So we know where Carol starts. She starts at 1 out of 600 in an 8-month period. How can we improve that and make not only the 4 people more appropriate, and more targeted, but also ensure that we're developing the relationships with them in a way that enables them to refer us more regularly. Okay, so it matters who you are developing deep relationships with, and it matters how you are relating with them. The reason I like to start with the targets is so that you can start with a baseline of where you're at, and the training helps you to understand how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And I'd like to tell you a short story. The first time I did this, I was gutted. I was gutted. I'd been in B&I for 3 or 4 years, maybe even more, 4 or 5 years, when I did this analysis for the first time, and I realized that I had been, pardon me using my title, I'd been wasting my time the whole time. I had no direction, no strategy, no commitment, no understanding of who my referral partners would be and how I could work with them to help them grow their businesses and me grow mine at the same time. I was completely lost, and the percentages were incredibly low. The minute that I figured it out and found out that, wow, the 4 people matter, and so does the relationship I have with them, it made all the difference in the world. Strategic networking is about asking for those 4 people. You'll find them. They're out there. And the number 4 is, of course, just to make it a quadrant, because that's easy. Maybe you'll have more, but let's just start with the 4 and getting those 4 right, and having the numbers be greater in each quadrant, because your relationship with each of those people gets stronger and stronger. Okay. All right. So I hope that if you were gutted, you realize that you're not alone. I was gutted. I thought, oh my goodness me, I don't do it right. Okay, so step 2, you need to define your target market and your USP. Now, I've talked about this before, but I want you to think about that for yourself. You might just take this as a note. I'm not going to try and do the whole thing in 45 minutes. I want to just give you and explain to you why it's so important. A target market is incredibly important, and I am not trying to teach you marketing. I have a lot of marketing specialists I refer to and give, if you haven't nutted out your target market, you need to. I can help ask a lot of questions about the demographics of your current clients, whether or not they represent what you want, the business to business or business to consumer. We can go through a lot of Q&A on all of that. But could you write down your favorite client right now? You know, if you have a whole bunch of clients out there, or if you don't have a lot of clients, but you think you know what a perfect one would look like, knowing their name even would help. You know, my perfect client's name is George. He's an accountant. He's got 2 kids. He runs a business with 10 employees, and that's the kind of detail I want you to have. He's a redhead because I like redheads. He's got a beard and it's still got the red in it because he's only like 35, 36 years old. See what I mean? You get really technical. Now, when I communicate, I can think about George. And by the way, if you're in B2B, you might be saying to yourself, well, the target market that I'm looking after is actually a business, not a person. I want to just remind you that we sell to people. So it's important that we describe the decision maker or the person you're going to be pitching to in a way that's really defined, so that you always know who you're pitching to. All right. So you need to know your target market. You also need to know your USP, unique selling proposition. What's new about you? It's very hard when you're let's pick on one that's really difficult. A mortgage broker. You're a mortgage broker and you walk into a room and there's 7 other mortgage brokers there, and each of you introduce yourselves and you say, I'm a mortgage broker. And what makes me special is I listen to my clients, and I save them time. And then the next one stands up and they say, I'm a mortgage broker, and what makes me special is I save my clients time and I listen to them. And that's not unique if everybody does it. You need to find the unique you. Find the unique you. And there are many different things that you can I've listed 14 different areas that you can differentiate on: the language used, the culture you have, the ability that you have to generate money for charities, the things that you do in your brand, of course, might be, but also the processes and procedures you use that make you more efficient. Of course, a lot of people say I'm the most cost effective, or I have the best value. Why do you have the best value? I have the best value because I've got a great price from my suppliers, and I am an exclusive arrangement with those suppliers. Exclusivity, we want to find what's exclusive about you. That's a USP. Try and find what's exclusive that only you do, because I need to know that if I'm going to network with you and recommend you. All right. So define your target market and your USP. And now you need to know who you want to meet. Now, there's a really interesting concept here. Do you only want to meet your target market when you go networking? Karen said no. Would you love to meet your target market though? Wouldn't it be cool if you walked into a room and they were all there? Yeah, yeah. All right. So remembering the concept of thou shalt not sell, just always remembering that one. You do want to meet your target market, and you also want to meet people who have access to your target market. So you want to meet the people who meet your target market before you do, and the people who meet your target market after you do. You also want to meet collaborators, people who do kind of what you do, but a little different. So let me give you an example of a collaborator, a marketing expert who's a strategist and help someone like me with my marketing strategy is going to sit down with me and say, okay, I think that you should do this social media. I think you should have this set up on your website. I think you should have SEO that drives people here. I think you're going to need some great photography and images so that you can go out and do the promotion right. Wendy, you're definitely going to need to have some videos and some show reels because you want to do some public speaking. There's a lot of copy that you're going to need. You're going to need blogs. You're going to need LinkedIn articles. You're going to need to do all this. This is all sort of your marketing strategy. So a collaborator with that person would be other people who can contribute each of those things. They're in the marketing area, but they aren't necessarily doing what the marketing strategist does. Likewise, a photographer would have the marketing strategist in their group. Okay. So that's just one example. If I picked an accountant, I could pick different people around them that they would deal with. Who deals with the client before? Who deals with the client after? And who could collaborate on a client project, let's call it. Those are collaborators. Guess what? You also want to meet with competitors. Why? Why? Because competitors, first of all, once you get to know them, usually are collaborators. It's amazing what happens when you do that. I love to reach out to competitors of mine, have a one-to-one meeting with them, and then find out that, wow, I could send people to you because I don't do that. And they could send people to me because they don't do what I do. We end up not really being competitors. It's very hard to find a competitor. But wait, what if you do? Well, then, are they a good competitor? Because you should use them as inspiration. You should say to them, wow, I love your business. It's exactly what I'm working on building. Or you can acknowledge it straight to their face and say, listen, you provide a great service. I think we're gonna find that there's got to be enough room for both of us out here, because I like what you do, and I hope you can see that this is good, and make that friendly rather than adversarial. All right. So let me recap again. You want to meet the people who your clients meet before you. You want to meet the people who could collaborate with you on a project for clients. You want to meet the people who serve your clients after you. What do I mean by that? Who do your clients need after they've met with you? Who do they need after? You're always recommending people, aren't you, to your clients? You're saying, listen, if you need that service, go to them. If you need that service, go to them. That's who I'm talking about. The people after you. All right. We're going to go into this in more, but that's who you want to meet. Of course, your target market's in there as well. Target market, people before, collaborators, people after, competitors. Those are the 5 people. All right. It's a fantastic opportunity to get to know people. All right. Then you need to personalize your scripts. Personalizing your scripts means taking into account everything we've just talked about. When you meet someone, you just want to have a hello first. Hi. You don't want to go straight in. This is who I'm looking to meet. You want to say good day. And this takes practice. Now, I've written a whole article, which Jules will be so upset with me. I'll just have a little sidebar here. So Source Bottle is a great resource for opportunities to present your information to the public. And I get 2 of their emails every day. I don't read them every day, but a friend of mine wrote to me and said, Wendy, you've got to answer this Source Bottle thing. It's all about you. Networking, improvisation, you can write it. So I wrote the whole article and they've been sitting on it for 3 months, sitting on that article. So I'm about to publish it. I can't wait. So it's going on my blog. It'll be my first article on my blog. Okay, moving on. That was my sidebar. Does everybody taking a deep breath? Hold on. Because we're getting to the nitty-gritty part. You want to have a conversation with people. You do need icebreakers. You're at a networking event. You've just walked in. You want to say hi. What brought you here? You want to know what Carol just mentioned in her little assessment that I want to just reinforce? It's always good to ask people how you found out about this event or how you found out about me. When someone comes to you for service, how did you find out about me? When you walk into a networking environment, how did you find out about it? It's a great story usually. You know, if someone asks me how I found out about She's the Boss, they'd have to ask me how I found out about Handle Your Own PR, and they'd have to ask me how I met. So I have stories for all of those things. And it's a great little icebreaker. But remember this, it's also an icebreaker. Both of you are there to do something successful. So then you can move on because you may have already made a connection. The story might have created a connection already. So if you walk in and you say, oh, I was invited by so-and-so, they can say, oh, I know so-and-so. I know her as well. And I do this and that and the other. So it's about having that conversation. Then you might ask them, because you've never met them before, what do they do? It's about asking them what they do. And they tell you. And you could say, and who do you do that for? So you're asking for their USP and their target market, right? You're asking that. And you can even interview them in a way, if they don't know the answers, you can help them find the answers. Oh, anybody who's got a face. I've heard that before. I sell products to anybody who has skin. Well, you know, it's hard for me to think of someone who doesn't have skin. So I can't really refer to you. You know, dentists say that all the time. Anybody who has teeth. Well, you know, anybody doesn't help me. I need a specific. So you need to tell me kind of who. And so you are gaining experience right now to interview them a little bit better and to make them narrow it down just a tiny bit more. So do that. And then you might think of someone and say, wow, that'd be helpful. Cool. I like that. And now the next question is, who do you want to meet? Who would you like to meet today? Now, you might be brand new to the group too. You might be, if I walked into this group and I'd never met any of you and we're there and we've got a cocktail in our hands, or even if we're right here, if I were to ask you, who do you want to meet? And you were to say, oh, well, I would, you know what, I'd really love to meet that target market. Then I'd have to go to my Dunbar's number. I'd have to be thinking about the people I know. But if you were to say, oh, you know, it'd be great if I could meet a makeup artist, because I'm a photographer and I work a lot with makeup artists. So I'm always looking to connect with them. What if I then later subsequently meet a makeup artist in the room? I can then say, hey, listen, you know what, this person. So what you're trying to do is connect the dots. By the way, that's the name of my new Facebook group, Connect the Dots, because that is what all of this is about, connecting the dots, the connections. So you ask them who they'd like to meet. You say, you know what, if I meet one of those people today, I'm going to come up to you and introduce you. Is that all right? Yes. Great. Let's move on. So you also need an exit strategy. Woo. Exit strategy, because we're networking. So you're making connections and you need an exit strategy. So you say, I'm going to do that. Thank you so much for meeting with me. And then you move on. How good is that? So it's a script. Now, this script doesn't happen instantly, and that's what my article was all about, Jules. The improvisational article that I wrote was about how it seems like it's improv, but it's not. You know what? That's even true when you're a comedian. Seems like it's improv, but it's not. They've practiced this over and over. They've got skills that they can draw on. You think a guitarist just pulls out a guitar solo without any practice? No, they've practiced that. They aren't improvising a solo. They aren't making it up on the spot. They're using skills that they've developed over time. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to practice this script. You're going to start with a small talk, ask them what they do, ask them who they want to meet, exit the conversation. There's the flow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one last little point. You're not looking to make a lot of connections. You're looking to make good ones. You don't need to make a lot of connections because you got a lot of follow-up if you make a lot of connections, because follow-up's key. All right. I hope this is helpful. Good so far? All right. Awesome. Let's go now. I'm going to share with you guys my own intellectual property now. And you're the first people to publicly see it in this format, because I have done this presentation many times, but not with this format. So don't worry about the size. It's small right now, but I'm going to blow it up for you. This is the strategic networking framework, and I'm going to walk you through it right now. You start with you. You are the yellow bubble. That's you walking into a room, like I just said, and you have your USP and your target market. And you walk in knowing those things because you've studied them, you've practiced them, you've kind of gone in and you understand what makes you you. And you walk in and you make your first connection to a redhead. See, that's why they're red. We like the redheads. So we meet the redhead and we have a conversation with them, remembering the golden rule of networking: thou shalt not sell. You're having a conversation. You're going through the script, those 4 elements that I just talked about. The hi, how are you? What brought you here? Right? So you're following me there. You have that conversation. And one of those questions was, who do you want to meet? Now, I hope that I'm not being really gullible in this, but they hopefully are asking you the same questions back, you know? And if they're not, guess what? You get to tell them anyway, because you've been polite enough to ask them what they're here for. And if they're not listening to you, then that's when the exit comes earlier. Because if they're not going to listen to you, you can just move on. I don't want you to waste your time networking with someone who's me, 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 me. If you start by asking all about them, they're going to want to ask about you. That's the law of reciprocity. I hope that it works. And when it doesn't, it means that that person is a hunter and they're not interested in you, and you probably should move on. So just do. But you're having that conversation, and you know what you do? You ask them and what connections they want. They ask you what connections you want. And what might happen is this: the second connection. This is when the redhead says, oh, I know them. They're over here in this corner. And you say, would you introduce me? That'd be amazing. And they say, yes. And now, oh my goodness, you've made a connection. So let's go through that one more time, because in my little slide here, you're making business connections now. These have turned from conversations into business connections, and you're asking them for an introduction. This is networking, connecting the dots, right? Remember, you're still not selling, because all you're doing is making connections. So that didn't do what I wanted it to do. Maybe it'll do it in a minute. Yes, here it will. So here's the people that you asked for, the people where you recommend them. That's the next step. Remember, it's the people who you are always recommending after. The collaborators, the people who you collaborate with a lot, that you work with a lot. Those are the kind of people. Competitors, people who recommend you. Who recommends you? Remember our grid? That goes back to the grid. Who are the people who recommend you the most? Whose clients need you? Whose clients need you? There are people, those 4 people that you tried to identify there, we're going to get more specific about who they are. And the more analysis you do, the better. And of course, you want your target market. So those are the 5 groups of people you're asking for. Now, I want to warn you of something. You have to read your audience. When you're talking to the redhead, you don't want to shout out all 5 of these groups of people. You'll bore them and you'll bore yourself. And they'll go, oh my God, she's got a list of people. Don't pull out a checklist and say, do you know any of them, or them? You know, you don't want to be doing that. But what you do want to do is read your audience. Where are you? What event are you at? Is it likely that you're going to experience that? Could you see a list of the people that were coming beforehand? You know, there's a strategy to this networking as well. Do you have the ability to find out who's going early? You might say, well, I'm at a group of strata managers, so maybe I should ask for a strata manager or a strata manager that specializes in small blocks, or a strata manager that specializes in buildings that have, you know, 500 units or more. I don't even know if that exists, so just ignore me. Let me keep going. All the while, you are meeting these new people. Now, guess what happens when you meet the new people? So Jillian, let's say you introduce me to Dahlia. And you say, Dahlia is a perfect connection for you. Let me introduce you. And Jillian, you introduce me to Dahlia. And I say, Dahlia, how are you? My name's Wendy. What brought you here? Did you notice I just went back to my script? I just went straight back to the script. It's a new connection. I'm going to have a conversation with her. She doesn't know all of the pre-work I've done with Jillian already. I need to start fresh. It's like a brand new conversation. So I can tell her what brought me here. Jillian thought that we should meet because I told Jillian that I was interested in meeting X, right? So the conversation can start from there. Now I'm going to just click the button, thou shalt not sell. Even if Dahlia is my target market, I can say, Jillian thought that I should meet you because I explained to her that my target market was this. Now, Dahlia has a choice. She can either say, you know what, I am your target market. I've been looking exactly for you. Or, wow, that's interesting. Or, oh, I've already got someone. Or, no, I'm not interested in buying right now. And I haven't even sold to her, but she might be already thinking and anticipating that. So the way we treat that, Dahlia has all these options. So don't sell yet. Dahlia has to pull you into the sales process. And if she doesn't, all you want to do is connect the dots, keep the relationship going. Maybe Dahlia says, oh, listen, I'm so glad Jillian introduced us, but I've got to tell you, I already work with someone on this. And I said, oh, well, that's fantastic. Now, you know what she's just done? She's just introduced me to someone new. It's a competitor or possibly a collaborator, but probably someone I should know. Do you see what I just did? I'm not disappointed by the fact that I didn't get a sale because I wasn't selling yet. I didn't need to because Dahlia didn't invite me to sell. She's connecting me, and by accident, she connected me to a competitor that she thinks does what I do based on our very short conversation. I might ask, is that person here? I'd love to meet them. And voila, we're connecting dots more. All right. The conversation continues. All right. So that on the slide, you can see that's about growing your network. So do you see how each of those little dots, you recommend them, now it's got 5 more dots underneath it, because when I meet Dahlia, she might be in my target market, but what I really ask Dahlia to do is to introduce me to her network until I find the right people. And the right people are worth following up with in a subsequent conversation, with a personal meeting, with maybe just a connection on LinkedIn that we can then nurture and develop the relationship a bit, and then have a one-to-one meeting either in person or on the phone. Do you see how this is working? So it's networking, not selling. Very, very different. And the flow is quite good. Let me take you now to the next part of the presentation, which is, so that's the whole thing. That's what the whole connection looks like. I'm working on an animation for this sucker so that it looks really groovy. Anyway, We'll work on that. What's your next step? Exactly what I just said, to start to curate deeper relationships with the right people. Who are the right people in your grid, your quadrants that we started with at the beginning? What they are the natural people who recommend your business. That's who you're really, really looking for. This is the opportunity for you to receive a lot of referrals. The people who meet the people you want to know. Another example, and I'm so sorry I know several of you, but Jules has got a great referral relationship, I'll tell you already, with Annette. Annette meets a lot of great female founders because Annette is someone who helps us position ourselves well for awards. So she meets the best of the best, doesn't she? She meets people who think they're worthy of awards. That's like all of us, by the way. That's all of us. We are all worthy of awards. So we are perfect referrals for Jules, because then Jules connects us all, right? But Annette finds more of us in her day-to-day operation, doing things away from She's the Boss. So a perfect referral partnership for Jules to develop is one with Annette, where she works well. And look what happens when you get Jules meeting someone like Mia. They not only have such a good referral relationship, but they decide that that referral relationship is so powerful that it becomes a business relationship. That's what happens when you get great referral partners together. Does it have to change your business? No, they could have kept things separate, and they probably would have been just as successful, but they've combined that now. That means that they got a really good quadrant. Their quadrant was great. I bet Jules had Mia and Annette in her quadrants. And if not, she'll play with that a little bit and she'll find other ones and people in there. You need to find your 4 people, the 4 people who already met your clients. Financial planners meet people who want to invest in property. Yeah. Accountants meet people who want to develop a family trust. And so they are always able to refer to family lawyers or to people who write wills and estates law, right? So you have to think about the people who are always meeting your clients before you do and are in a great position to say, listen, do you need any of these services? Because if so, I have people I can recommend. That's the key. So you curate deep relationships with those people. You don't need to spend a lot of time on all of the people who don't. You need to spend your specific time on the people who do, but you need to find out who they are. It takes a little bit of introspective thinking to figure out who those people are. And it takes meeting a lot of them to find the ones that have the right values that align with yours and that have the same kind of clients that you want. All right. Personalizing your networks is my second to last slide. And this is about where do you network? Now, on that slide, you meet people at networking events or presentations, sort of like this. Now, there may not be much of an opportunity to network with people at a presentation, right? Because you guys are listening to me. I'm doing all the talking, you're doing all the listening. Some of the stories I've told about specific people on the line might have resonated, and you might think, wow, I'd like to meet that person. But generally, it's the pre-banter and the post-banter where you might make some actual sparks that turn it into a further conversation. So my suggestion is don't arrive late to networking opportunities, arrive early. Because that's where, if it's a presentation, that's where the opportunity to see if someone could be introduced. So when Jules gives you, and she's fantastic, and so is Mia, a really great facilitator of this, asks you who, what brings you here and what do you do? Make sure you always incorporate who you'd like to meet into that response, because then that'll draw them in. If Helen is sitting there going, and I say, I'm looking for people who are named Helen, she'll go, oh, wait, that's me. And see, that was very specific, wasn't it? But it worked. You have to be that specific. So if you're looking for someone named Helen, ask for someone named Helen. If you're looking for business coaches who often recommend their clients go out and do some networking. Yeah. Business coaches are always saying you need to go out and network, but they don't tell you how. Well, that's what I do. So I ask for business coaches and sales trainers, because business coaches and sales trainers are always needing to help people with the skills that I teach. All right. So there's events, there's networking events as well that are business-like, but you notice I also have dogs there at the dog park. You can network there too. Now, if the conversation when you start it isn't businessy and you don't want it to be businessy, then don't take it there. But if you've met someone and you're in the right vibe and they seem in the right vibe, ask them what they do. That's step 2. So you've already asked them how they are and told them how cold it is at the dog park this early in the morning. You know you've got something in common. What brought you here? Oh, I live right down the street. Great, fabulous. What do you do? Boom, all of a sudden, you may be able to make a connection. And then drinking, that last one is drinking. That's actually supposed to indicate social environments. So you're in a social environment. Again, if you don't want to turn it into a networking business conversation, don't. You should be able to turn off at some point. But most people realize that I can't. I don't. I can business network when I'm got a guitar in my hand. So you can network anytime you want to. And with these sorts of skills and that script, which requires all of the pre-work, you'll be able to be better at connecting with people and connecting the dots between who you've met, because even if they're not the right person, it's not about them or you, it's who they know. And that's where the magic comes. So with that, that's my invitation to you. My invitation to you is that my book has been uploaded onto the Kindle platform. It hasn't yet been released. I'm so proud of myself for formatting it to be up on the platform anyway that I can't even tell you. But my Connect the Dots Facebook group is up and running, and I offer all the hints and tips, and I like for the people who are in that group to be engaged with it as well and share their experiences. Oh, I went and I applied this and it worked, or oh, can you tell me a little bit more about this because it didn't feel comfortable, whatever. The Connect the Dots group is a group of people that want to be better at networking in a strategic way to get the results that they want. And so I guess it's just Q&A time now. Those are my links at the bottom there. I absolutely love delivering the training and love sharing the strategy with you guys. And I'm going to stop. If you want to take a picture of that, I'm going to stop the share so that we can chat for a minute if you want to.
That was amazing,
Wendy. Amazing. Yes.
Sorry, Leah, you go.
No, you go. That was just incredible. Thank you so much, Wendy. I know I've got a whole series of notes written down. I have taken some notes as well that we'll be sending out to you all at the end of the week in our weekly wrap up. But gosh, so gorgeous. And I guess the question that sticks in my mind is, who do you want to meet today? Wow.
Yes.
Look at all these amazing women.
Yeah.
For those that I don't know, I want to meet all of you.
Thank you, Maureen.
I do too. And Wendy, that was fabulous. And the other little thing that you didn't mention to everyone, and I just have to mention it because it's stuck in my mind since you said it, was that with your party light, you weren't just trying to make, a couple of $1,000. You were on track to make 10 million through your network, which is just extraordinary. So when we say that Wendy is a networker, she's not your average networker. She's at the next level. So does anyone have any questions?
Carol.
Yeah, Carol.
So I may have missed this bit because I did have to take a phone call, so I'm sorry. I do apologise. If you are at a networking thing and you get stuck with someone, and we've probably all been there, who is trying to sell to you, who completely dominates the conversation, how do you extricate?
Good.
So you're going to go to the loo.
I would love to say, you're boring the shit out of me. I'm leaving.
No.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have never done that.
But you never know who they know. Carefully and with practice, but you do want to probably start a conversation when you start by saying what brought you here. You know, you want to meet, you do want to meet people. Like you're here to meet people who are interested and interesting, but you can't tell them that. But one of the things you do want to do is say, listen, I'm so sorry. I'm taking up way too much of your time. Always take it yourself. I'm taking up way too much of your time. So I like to take that myself and then say, I know that you want to be meeting with lots of other people. Let me have your card. May I have your card? And you take their card, and that's what they wanted to do anyway. They wanted to, and they're probably going to spam you later because they're collecting cards up the, and just take their card and say, thank you so much for all the information. I'm gonna think about this, and I'll think about people I can connect you to. So you proactively tell them, you know what, this is great. Thank you so much. Let's go meet other people. I'm taking up too much of your time. Yeah, I find that works really nicely.
I love that.
It's leaving them with hope.
Leaving them with hope. Oh, another little pet peeve of mine is people who give me their business card without me asking for it. And so therefore, I also don't give out my business card unless asked. However, because of the power of LinkedIn, I have started asking people if they would like to connect on LinkedIn. And there's some really groovy ways to do that when you're networking too, but only if you want to continue the conversation. Tessa, how about you?
Hey, Wendy, that's a fantastic presentation. I really love the way you covered it, and I'm really grateful to be here today. Wendy, I just wondered how much your intuition is playing a role in this, scanning the room, getting a feeling, a kind of under gut feeling for people. And does that play out? Is that the kind of thing that you somehow might factor into this?
Well, I think that we all have intuition, but what we don't all have is the confidence that no matter who you walk up to, and that's what I want you to have. I want you to have the confidence that it doesn't matter who you walk up to in a networking environment first. You can walk up to the first person you see, and you don't look for your target market. You just anybody, and that you can have that scripted conversation and be led to the right place. Now, of course, you also want to be specific in where you network so that it's more likely that you find those 5 types of people that you want. So it is important that you begin to be more effective and selective about where you go to be more efficient. But trust your intuition, but also remember they're married to someone who might know, or they might be married to someone. They could be married to someone who works with your perfect referral partner, and you won't find that out. So you might as well just say good day, connect the dots, see if they can do it, and learn the interview skills. That's what the improv article is about. So when I do launch that improv article, please read it, because I do think that it touches on things that I don't even touch in the book, because I wrote it after the book. So
Right.
yeah.
Thank
you, Tessa. Yeah. Anybody else want to ask something? I've had the best time. And I know that, yeah. Right. Well, thank you for the opportunity. And I'll pass it back to Mia and Jules, I guess, and say, I love it. I think I'll see some of you on Friday at lunch. Maureen, have you ever been to a She's the Boss group?
I haven't, and I would love to join on it's Wednesdays.
Yeah,
Friday.
no, it's Friday
Friday.
lunchtimes, but you've got to meet Jules, because she's
Jules
in Melbourne as
and
well.
we're playing ping pong, trying to get our schedules connect, and then we got messed up in lockdown. But I will make it my business to be there, if not this week, next. Is it every Friday?
Yeah,
Every Friday.
I'd love to be there. Thank you.
The start time is loose and the end time is loose.
Well,
that's how
actually,
Fridays are for me.
It's supposed to be the end of the week. The idea is that you can kind of have that drink, meet with some girls, and then that's the end of Friday. So
Perfect.
we started at 12:30. It often goes till 3:30, sometimes even 4, although I've often shut it down if it gets to 4 because I've probably drunk too much champagne by then. but it goes
Okay, I'm ready
everywhere.
to join you.
And you certainly don't have to come at the beginning. If you've only got 15 minutes, just pop in and say hi. But it's there's no waiting rooms on the Zoom or anything. You just click on the link and off you and in you come.
Excellent.
Now
Thank you.
Dahlia has a question. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Wendy, that was phenomenal. That was brilliant. Oh my gosh, I've got like 4 pages of notes here. I used to do a lot of networking in a previous life, but it was never for my own business. So I'm now approaching this. So everything I took from you today is now about me growing my own business, and I'm just starting to make new connections. So I just had a quick question. When you talked about that quadrant, I'm supposed to be filling the 4 spots, and I have a couple of spots, but the more you talked, the more I realized that maybe that's not the people that are supposed to be in those spots. Those 4 people are people that are like my people that I'm trying to meet at networking events. That was the point of that. Is that right?
The point of that was that today, the 4 people who recommend you may or may not be the right people. And
Yeah.
after going through the rest of the presentation, I bet most of you identified that they aren't the right people.
Exactly.
They aren't the fount of knowledge that will bring you business day after day after day. Once you analyze the 5 different areas, especially the one, which is the people who recommend you. So the people who recommend you, that's who you really want to meet. So it takes, and this is an evaluation over time. I don't expect you would instantly think, okay, these 4 kinds of industries or 4 specialists are the ones that I need to meet with. It may be that you think of one right away and then another one develops and evolves. But what you really want to do is not just have 4 names in here, but probably you'll start with 4 categories. Like, remind me what you do, Dahlia?
I'm a content writer.
All right,
So
great.
copywriter.
Copywriter. So who would be giving you, so you might have web designer here or web developer here, right there. You might also have a photographer there that specializes in web development. You might have a marketing specialist here, and then you might have a I don't know, someone who specializes in grant writing, because they might need some assistance. I made those up. But if you found that those 4, now you've got 4 titles.
Yeah.
So you start asking and meeting people like this, and eventually you'll have 4 names of people in those areas. And the 4 of that, you're going to work together. You're going to work really well together, but they're going to consistently be meeting the people who need your service. And they'll be able to do that question that I said, when they meet their new client, oh my gosh, it's so good to be able to serve you as your grant writer. By the way, if you need help with your grants, you may also be interested in getting some help. Do you do any blogging? Do you know, not all of their clients are going to need you, but they're going to be able to recommend you very easily. And so you might start with the 4 business types, and then as you network, begin to develop relationships, to develop names, and then watch what happens to the numbers. The numbers will go up, because that grant writer is going to send you, instead of 1 per year, that person's going to send you maybe 1 per month. And now you'll see that you're strategically networking, and you actually have developed that quadrant into a money generating pit. So
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Fantastic. So is everybody ready to go off and network and meet at least 4 new fabulous, I don't know, people, clients, customers? Certainly got me all fired up, and I just can't wait till we can get out and do it in person. But it's still really cool to do it on Zoom.
Yeah, it works, and it will be cool to do it in person. The inertia is hard. Even in Sydney, we're allowed to get out, but I've been in front of this computer because I like to talk nationally. And look, I wouldn't be here if we were in person. So,
and I've got to take my hat off to you, Wendy, because you did a beautiful bit of networking, connecting there for Jules and Maureen. That was very well done.
Thank you. Thank you. I always try to help the people who are hosting me.
Oh, you're lovely. You're absolutely lovely. Great.
I just love the way that you've used this sort of image that we've all got now about COVID, and how if one person's got it, then 10 more people are going to get it.
Ca-
It's kind of a gag for that.
Catch the right virus.
That's right. That's right. Get the right spots.
No, connect the dots. That's all you
That's
need
it.
to do.
Yeah.
Connect the dots. Yeah.
I'm interested to go to the BNI thing tomorrow and see how many people are actually doing that. Yeah, because it's not typical of
No.
any paid networking thing. So they're good questions for me to ask. But it'll be interesting to see if anyone actually asks me, and I'll say to them, you know, you should actually talk to Wendy Lloyd Curley. She's from Sydney BNI, and she probably would be useful for you.
Well, and let me, Carol, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'll just distinguish. I mean, I run both businesses. Strategic networking is not all BNI. Like, that's why I wrote the book. I wrote the book because I was worried that everything I'd be teaching was BNI. Right. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well just be BNI. But I knew that I had something special and unique. So strategic networking isn't taught in BNI. I teach it myself, and BNI does have a lot of elements of it. It's all about giving. It's all about finding out more about people. There's a lot of similarities, but they should put you in a breakout room, and the members should ask you what brought you here. I hope they do. I hope they do.
Fascinating.
I love networking. I think I go there sometimes and I just watch. A bit of a people watcher, and I'm not going to say stalker, but I like to watch how people interact. And sometimes I think, you want to stand in a corner and you don't want to talk to anyone, then that's okay. But
why are you here?
Why are you here? Why are you here?
I walk straight up to those people, and anybody who goes to a networking meeting and sits down to eat by themselves, I go straight up to them. I sit down with them. Hey, what brought you here? All right.
Well, Wendy,
Very
thank
cool.
you so much. I know what brought me here, and it was because the amazing connection that I had with you when I met you at Jules's event. So,
there you go.
So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming along, and I hope you all have got an idea in your head about how you're going to go forth and network. And connect with even more people. And if you'd like to join Jules and I on Fridays at the lunch, please do so. We'd love to have you there. And we'll connect even more.
And we'll connect you with a whole lot of other new people you don't know. If you tell us what you do,
Absolutely.
we'll be able to say, that's who you need to talk to.
Yeah, definitely. Look, at these events, as I said, because we have brought our expert speakers, and as Wendy said, this is more of a presentation type format, so more of a lunch and learn type format. We don't have a lot of time to connect with each other, but always feel free to use that chat box and use our Fridays to come and meet people. That's our gorgeous general discussion. We have all sorts of discussions at that event. Yes, it can go all sorts of ways.
There is nothing that is not allowed to be talked about at those events. So yes, it goes in all sorts of interesting areas. Now, Mia,
it's very, very true.
Are we going to announce our fabulous new program that we are putting together for the Learning Table?
Yes, we certainly are. So
have you got that graphic, or shall I grab it?
Oh, why don't you grab it while I talk?
Yes,
and then that's just what happens when we have a team.
It's so nice. I know. All right, let me just
so as I said, this is our first one of our Learning Table events, and we will be bringing these to you every 2 weeks until the end of the year, and then we're going to be using January for our planning, and that's going to mean that we're going to connect with all of the fabulous women that are part of our network and beyond, to bring more amazing speakers to the head of the table, which Wendy just took today. But we would love you all to join us for those. So our very next event is, as I said, in 2 weeks on the 27th. And we've got the amazing Carolyn Butler Madden, who is the author of Love and Money and the founder of The Cause Effect. Now, Jules has interviewed her. Oh, there you go. Jules.
There's the little timetable so that you can, and we will start posting it on social. But
we will, and we'll also include this into our weekly wrap up that we send to you at the end of the week. Can I just ask, is it okay with everyone if I put everyone's name and and email address in the newsletter wrap up that we're going to send out for the people that attended this event today. And if anyone doesn't want their contact details shared, please let me know.
Okay.
Yep, great, perfect.
Great.
You can always contact me later.
What a great idea for networking. So there you go, everyone. If you all get each other's emails, you can all connect. Let me tell you a little bit about the women that are coming for their learning table at the rest of the year. The other thing is that if you become a member of She's the Boss, which is only $49 a month, all of these events will be free. So you get all the lunches every Friday, plus these events and some other things that we've got up our sleeve. Otherwise, if you want to just come to one, it's $49. So we're basically going to load it so much so that you just become a member. But let me tell you about these incredible women. So Carolyn Butler Madden is the founder of The Cause Effect, which is an agency in Sydney that specializes in helping businesses align with a cause or a purpose. And she'll be talking about how if you do have a purpose-driven business or you can align with one, how it really benefits your bottom line as well. She's amazing. And she's just this week launched a book called Love and Money. So she is amazing. So she's the first one on October 27th. Then we have Danielle Dobson, who is the author of Breaking the Gender Code. And boy, oh boy, Danielle is amazing. She's done all this research into what is going on in business and why it is that women are being sidelined and how we can break that. So she's very, very inspirational and very science-based, which is great because I do it all on my gut. Then we have the amazing Tessa McPeak, who is a business astrologer, and Mia, as she said, gifted me a session with Tessa today, and I absolutely loved it. So what she'll do is talk about what you're doing, but also key dates to do business on and what can happen on those dates so you can plan ahead. Then we've got the absolutely amazing Melissa Hamilton, who has been CEO of some very big businesses. She was very senior at Telstra, and then she was CEO of a business called Stella something or other, Stella with an R, but she had 5,000 staff there. She ended up getting breast cancer, reevaluated her life, and has now started Brave Feminine Leaders, which is a podcast and a program, and she is absolutely amazing. And last but certainly not least, we have Australia's #1 keynote speaker of the year, Dr. Louise Mahler. And Louise is such a good speaker. She normally travels all over the world and we wouldn't have a hope in hell of getting her, but thank you, COVID, because she's going to come along and do a talk with us. She is very much a body language expert. You may have seen her on Sunrise and the Today Show and just a whole lot of shows. She's often analyzing people like Donald Trump and politicians' body language. She also does all the stuff for The Bachelor and Love at First Sight and all that kind of thing. But she very much talks about how you can have a voice of influence as a woman and how to hold your body and use your voice in certain ways to give you authority and get cut through in meetings where maybe you're finding it a little bit hard to get heard. So it is an extraordinary lineup. This is the beginning. We're planning on doing it for the whole of next year, and we will be posting it up there. But I would recommend that if you're interested in more than 2 of these, that it's worth becoming a member of She's the Boss instead, because you'll get them all for free. But as I said, we'll post them up, and you can go to she'sthebossgroup.com if you want to look at the membership and what is involved in the membership. So there you go. But it's going to be awesome. So do come and join us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely thrilled that we've got that lineup just in our first few weeks. Wow.
Absolutely.
Louise Mahler is incredible.
She is.
Ask her about the Harry and Meghan interview with Oprah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. She's so good with all of that stuff.
Jen Donovan needs to be at that one.
And she's very funny. Yeah, I'm sure Jen will be. So there you go, girls. This is just a little taste of what's to come. And as you can look around this room, you can see how amazing you all are, all doing incredible things. So I really hope that we'll get to know you a little bit better at the lunches if you can make it. And the other thing is you don't have to become a full-on member. You can just come to one lunch if you want to give it a go. So you don't have to jump in with both feet and fully commit. you can dip your toe in and see what you think. But we've
Although
got
you
today.
probably
Sorry, Mia,
will
go on.
get, I was going to say, you'll probably will get FOMO like me. And if you miss out on a week, you hear about the great conversation. You're like, damn it, I wanted to be there for that one. What do you mean? What are these biscuits?
And
People are talking about.
And to be honest, girls, it's everything from business. Obviously, we talk a lot about business, and we are all there to help anybody if anybody has an issue or a problem. But we also talk about vaginas, breasts. We talk about menopause. We talk about relationships
Brownies.
with our mothers. What did
Brownies.
you say?
Brownies.
Brownies.
Vibrators.
Oh yeah. Recipes. We'll tell you about the brownies thing later.
Yeah.
But yes, so it's really fun and it's totally informal and you know, we'd love to see you. So
yeah, it's really just like having lunch on Friday with the girls. And it's just that we couldn't all do it together and our borders kept closing. So we're like, let's just do this via Zoom.
That's right. And then
so
we have
it's
people,
lunch with the girls
and we have regulars who come from Perth and Armidale in New South Wales and outback New South Wales and Queensland, and it's just a real melting pot. So wherever
and overseas,
I'm sure
Tokyo.
And Ayla, who's stuck in Tokyo with the lockdown and wasn't able to get back, and I don't think she's back yet, so she pops in as well. So yeah. Anyway, lots of fun, no pressure. And hashtag no agenda. So it's really just come and we'll see what happens with the lunch. And if you the whole reason I set it up really was back in the days when I was working for a newspaper. I used to come in at 5 o'clock on Friday mornings to get all my copy and my ads done so that I could go down to the pub at lunchtime. And I've basically just recreated it. So I just think if you're working on your own, sometimes it's a bit hard to, you know, not be able to sit around with some friends at the end of the week and have a drink. So this is that alternative for you.
I'm looking forward to going. Yep, it'll be my first one, and it sounds like a real giggle.
Oh yeah, can't wait to have you there, Antonia.
Yeah,
and
you'll
you
love
never
it.
know. Sometimes there's 5 of us, and sometimes there's 20 of us. So it lends itself to all sorts of different kind of conversations depending on who's there.
Yeah. I think what's really important is also, as you mentioned earlier, Jules, it's a place that we can also ask for help. And sometimes in our own businesses, we just get stuck and we sit in our own head and we can't get over something. And it's such a great opportunity to come online with some other women who want to help you and just to have that ask. So
yeah, and between us, we've got lots and lots of connections and lots of ways of helping. So, you know, it doesn't matter what you ask for, other than getting to Oprah, which we might be able to do because we have got connections, but we haven't quite got to her yet. I'm desperate to interview her for my podcast.
Next year.
I'm really thinking about it. I'm really reaching into America and thinking, I must know somebody. I'm pretty sure we could do it. We could nail this.
Ask for what you want.
That's right. I've interviewed her ex-chief of staff of 11 years and in fact did a referral to her yesterday. And she came back going, oh my God, Jules, thank you so much for your great connections. So I figure she owes me one. That's my networking tip, by the way, Wendy. I always like to give. And that way everybody owes you a favor. And then you can call it in at a later date.
I must go. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. It's time for us. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jules, Mia. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's time for us all to go.
Thank you, girls.
Great. Thanks, Wendy. Lovely. Bye.
Thank you. Hope to see you all Friday or soon back at the learning table.
Yeah.